With major boxing personalities weighing in, the potential clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford is igniting debates over its feasibility, financial motivations, and the stark weight class disparities between the fighters. Speaking to DAZN, Riyadh season architect Turki Alalshikh said that he had made Canelo Alvarez an offer to fight Terence Crawford. He suggested that it would be a smart and profitable choice for Canelo Alvarez.
I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
Furthermore, Canelo Alvarez calls a potential fight with Terence Crawford easy money, sparking controversy and questions about fairness and competitiveness.
Crawford saying he wanted to fight you.
Everybody
wants to fight you.
Yeah.
Now, I saw at the end of the Crawford fight, the how they call him, the excellency. Yeah, Turkey. His excellency.
Canelo Alvarez's recent comments about the potential fight with Terence Crawford have stirred considerable debate in the boxing world. Alvarez has emphasized that he would only consider this high-profile match if the money is right, suggesting that substantial financial incentives are a critical factor in his decision-making process. Alvarez's stance underscores a shift in how major boxing matches are sometimes perceived. Historically, matchups of this magnitude are often driven by a desire for athletic glory, skill, and the quest for greatness. However, Alvarez's emphasis on the financial aspect raises questions about the motivations behind such high-stakes fights. By saying, if the numbers were right with Crawford, you'll do it? Why not? Why not? Canelo Alvarez underscores that the financial aspect plays a significant role in his decision-making process. This focus on money can detract from the excitement and purity of the sport for some fans. He further adds, I take 80% of everything, highlighting how much he prioritizes financial gain. This approach can make it seem like he's more interested in the paycheck than the competitive challenge of the fight. Canelo's comments suggest that he views the potential fight primarily as a business opportunity. While it's understandable that financial considerations are important, especially for high-profile athlete. Additionally, Canelo Alvarez voiced his dislike for Terence Crawford's movement-heavy style, saying, I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because they move a lot and the fight is not that great. This statement indicates that Alvarez prefers more straightforward opponents. Canelo's preference for simpler, more direct fights suggests he may be avoiding the technical challenges posed by Crawford's dynamic approach. His comments reflect a desire for less complex matchups, which could influence how he approaches potential fights and opponents. Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn highlights the size disparity between Crawford and Alvarez, emphasizing the physical advantages Alvarez would have in the matchup.
I mean, look, I think Terence that's a question for Terence. For me, 168 is a huge jump. You know, when you're talking about someone the size of Canelo Alvarez.
Eddie Hearn highlights the significant size difference between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, emphasizing that this disparity could pose a substantial challenge for Crawford. Hearn explains that Alvarez is not only larger, but also possesses greater physical strength, which would provide him with a considerable advantage in a potential matchup. By stating, you're talking about someone the size of Canelo Alvarez, Hearn underscores how Alvarez's superior size and strength could create a significant imbalance, making it difficult for Crawford to compete on equal terms. This size disparity is a crucial factor that could heavily influence the outcome of the fight, as Alvarez's physical attributes might overwhelm Crawford's skills and strategy. Hearn's analysis suggests that the fight's dynamics would be shaped by Alvarez's ability to leverage his size, potentially dictating the pace and power of the exchanges, thereby tilting the odds in his favor. Adding to the debate, in an interview, Telegraph's boxing correspondent Gareth A. Davies discusses the potential matchup between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, following Crawford's recent fight against Israil Madrimov. Gareth A. Davies admits he was wrong initially to support a fight between Crawford and Canelo, noting the unrealistic challenge of Crawford moving up 6 weight classes.
A 6th weight class climbing from lightweight is too much at the very, very elite pound-for-pound level. I think I was wrong in calling Crawford to fight Canelo. I just think the size difference would be too big.
Davies talks about the idea of Terence Crawford fighting Canelo Alvarez. At first, he thought it would be a great match, but now he realizes it's not really possible. He says, I just think the size difference will be too big. The power difference will be too big. This means Crawford would be at a big disadvantage because Canelo is much bigger and stronger. Davies then talks about how people love to imagine exciting fights, even if they might not actually happen. He compares it to dreaming about a fight between Naoya Inoue and Gervonta Davis, which also seems unrealistic because of the size differences. It's a little bit I put it in the same category as saying I want to see Naoya Inoue against Gervonta Davis, he explains. These kinds of matchups are fun to think about, but they're not always fair or possible. He also talks about the money side of boxing. Canelo asked for $150 million to fight Crawford, calling it easy money. This shows how much money can influence which fights happen. Big names like Canelo can demand a lot of money, making some fights very expensive to arrange. This focus on money highlights the business side of boxing, where financial negotiations play a significant role in deciding which matches take place. Davies points out that boxing is in an exciting time right now, with many big fights happening. Even though some matchups are more dreams than reality, it's a period where fans and promoters are really pushing for exciting events. He says, "We are in a period now where we're getting these big fights, and it do seem out the realms of a possibility." Finally, Davies suggests that instead of fighting Canelo, Crawford should consider fighting someone like Boots Ennis. This would be a more realistic and fair fight. "It wouldn't surprise me now to see Crawford fight someone like a Boots Ennis," he notes. Davies shows that while it's fun to dream about big, exciting matchups, it's also important to think about what's practical and fair in the sport of boxing. Former professional boxer Robert Garcia expresses skepticism about the feasibility of a Crawford versus Canelo fight, especially after Crawford's recent performance.
That's too much. Moving up 2 more weight divisions, 2 more. Thank you, man. Thank you. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think that'll bring that much attention anymore.
Robert Garcia talks about the idea of Terence Crawford moving up in weight to fight Canelo Alvarez. He starts by explaining that it's a big leap for Crawford. That's too much moving up 2 more weight divisions, he says, highlighting the significant challenge of jumping up 2 weight classes. Garcia believes that after Crawford's latest performance, people might not be as excited about the fight. "I think people are not really going to want to see Crawford versus Canelo," he states. Garcia then explains why Crawford's recent fight plays a role in this. He mentions that if Crawford had completely dominated his last opponent, the situation might be different. "If you were to go out there and destroy this guy, then okay, he can move up and fight against Canelo," Garcia says. The idea is that a more impressive victory would have made the prospect of moving up to fight Canelo more appealing to fans and analysts alike. He reiterates his point that it's hard for people to believe Crawford could effectively challenge someone like Canelo after his recent performance. "It'll be hard for people to buy that, that he could fight somebody like Canelo," Garcia emphasizes the size and weight difference between the 2 fighters, making it a tough sell for the audience. Furthermore, boxing analyst AKOYE believes Terence Crawford lacks the power at 154 pounds to challenge Canelo Alvarez effectively.
Moving up in weight and Crawford wanting to fight Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, that was his focus. That was the zone's focus, Canelo Alvarez, right? After watching Crawford versus Israel Madrimov, right? How do you think the Canelo Alvarez fight goes, if it were to occur?
I think at this point,
AKOYE talks about how he mentioned earlier that Madrimov was a good fight for Crawford to prepare for Canelo because of their similar styles. He says, "When I told you before, I said Madrimov was a fight that you take to get prepared for a Canelo because of the style similarity." He admits that some people thought he was crazy for saying that, but he defends his point by explaining that both fighters are explosive, compact guys with good boxing IQ who look to get into exchanges and counter inside. AKOYE states that while Madrimov is not as good as Canelo, his style is still useful for preparing for a fight with Canelo. Is he as good as Canelo? No, but that definitely is a style that you would want to fight in order to prepare yourself for a Canelo. He believes Canelo would have been able to put more pressure on Crawford in places where Madrimov didn't. "I think that Canelo would have been able to press the envelope in spots where Madrimov didn't." He concludes that Canelo would beat Crawford because good big man beats good little man most of the time. He stresses that it's not a knock on Crawford's abilities, acknowledging Crawford as the pound-for-pound best right now, but believes fighting Canelo would be too much for him. Nothing against Crawford. I still think Crawford is still the pound-for-pound right now, but that would be biting off more than he can chew in my opinion. He explains that Crawford's performance against Madrimov, where he lacked power, makes him think Crawford wouldn't be able to hurt or scare Canelo. After watching his lack of pop versus Madrimov, I don't think he can hurt Canelo or scare Canelo into respecting anything that he's throwing. He repeats that Canelo wouldn't be worried about Crawford's punches after the first half of the fight. I don't think he has anything that Canelo would be worried about, you know what I mean, after the first half of the fight. He states that because of this, he doesn't want to see the fight between Canelo and Crawford. That's just not the fight that I would want to see, me personally, at this point because of that. AKOYE believes that the hype for a Canelo versus Crawford fight was created to generate excitement, but Crawford's performance didn't deliver. I think that's what they were trying to create in the first place. excitement towards the Canelo fight. He says Crawford's win was supposed to establish him at middleweight, but the performance was not impressive enough. It was supposed to be a fight where Crawford just established himself on that stage of, middleweight to 154 division. He reiterates that while Crawford won the fight, it wasn't the type of performance that would make people excited to see him fight Canelo. He won. It was a unanimous decision, but it wasn't a performance that you say we need to see Canelo and Crawford. He believes Crawford will realize this himself when he watches the fight again. If he's being honest, which I think he is, when he watches this again, he'll probably say the same. Former professional boxer Gabe Rosado claims that Canelo is far superior to Crawford, and Crawford's recent win was barely convincing.
A way better fighter. So, Crawford won the fight, I think, by a round or two. You know what I'm saying? So, if Canelo's landing those kind of shots, can Crawford take that shot?
According to Gabe Rosado, Canelo Alvarez's superior skills and extensive experience make him a formidable opponent. Rosado expresses skepticism about Terence Crawford's ability to withstand Canelo's powerful punches. He questions whether Crawford has the resilience and defensive capabilities needed to endure the kind of shots that Canelo can deliver, given Alvarez's proven track record of strength and knockout power. Rosado's assessment underscores the physical and technical challenges Crawford would face, suggesting that Alvarez's punching power and ring savvy could be decisive factors in determining the outcome of a fight between the two. Gabe Rosado suggests that Terence Crawford might need to alter his strategy if he fights Canelo Alvarez. Instead of adopting the aggressive approach he used in his last bout, Crawford might choose a more defensive stance, opting to stay on the back foot and allow Canelo to come to him. This strategic adjustment could enable Crawford to set traps and exploit openings created by Canelo's forward pressure. By fighting defensively, Crawford could use his speed and counterpunching skills to capitalize on any mistakes Canelo might make while advancing, potentially turning Canelo's aggression into opportunities for scoring points or landing significant blows.